Building a Legacy Business. Today we'll be talking about sustainability, impact-driven, and eco-conscious businesses. Welcome to the Global Art Cafe. I'm Lisa Kindle, your host, and today we're talking to Lara Cornell. Hi, Lara.
Hey, Lisa.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm going to start out by reading her bio, and I'll be sure to put it in the podcast notes. So if you miss something, you can go back and read it there. Lara Cornell is a business strategist and coach specializing in supporting artisans, artists, and makers. She is the international best-selling author of Maker's Mark, Making a Living and Impact with Your Artisan Business, and the creator of the Impactful Artisan Podcast. To that end, she founded the Artisan Business Academy, an artisan and company focusing on educating and showcasing impact-driven and eco-conscious artisan businesses around the world. She is also the founder of the Sustainable Artisan Guild. When she's not geeking out on business and sustainability, she lives an artist's life with her family, where she's often found painting, gilding, creating perfumes, or traveling to France. Welcome, Lara. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks, Lisa. It's good to be here.
Let's start with my first question for you. What's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
I wish I had known everything before I started my career. Well, I think there's a lot of it goes into starting a business, right? So I think I would have liked to have known first and foremost that you can't really do it wrong, but there are more hard ways to do it than easier ways. And I wish I had known how important a mentor and a coach is in building a business, not either or. I think artists especially often look for mentors, which are amazing. But the mentor typically is in your own field, right? So if I'm a potter, I would have a potter for a mentor. And I think there's so much to glean from that, but it's also super important to have somebody who has a lot of business knowledge just in business so that you can kind of blend the two together. I think that having both of those together are a powerful combination to help you move faster, where I just tried to do all the things myself and it took me a lot longer and I learned a lot of hard lessons.
I think there's a lot of us out there like that.
Yeah.
It's easier to do it the hard way. Is that right?
Yeah, there's something like if you want to go fast, right? If you want to go fast, do it alone. If you want to go further, do it together. Something like that.
That's good. I like
that.
Very good. So, what is your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
I don't know that I would necessarily say that I had failures, but I would definitely say that I learned a lot and ended up doing some things that obviously didn't work and a lot more things that burned me out. So I also tend to try to make everyone happy, which leads to kind of like this rabbit hole, right? Where you start leading further and further away from what your values are and what you started to do in the first place. So I think I spent enough times further off track than on track, which I would, argue that that's how I learned my lessons. But at the same time, I would prefer not to have done that. But I also gave away a lot of things for free, my art, my skills, my time. And for me, it was really a matter of knowing that I needed somebody to help me figure out how to save the time, how to save the money. So I wasn't just wasting my time and spinning my wheels, which required investing in my business. Granted, you can still invest, in more of a shoestring budget instead of like millions of dollars. But I couldn't run my business with $10 in my bank account all the time.
Which I would say that's where the strategy becomes so important, correct?
Yes, totally. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. The coaching side, which is what you're doing with business strategy. And I come from that background, having run my own graphic design studio for over 15 years. I totally get that. And then being an artist, totally relate to, and being good at a lot of things, correct? Like you're good at a lot of things. You can do a lot of things, and it's so easy to get distracted. And while they're not bad things, are they getting us to our goal?
Yeah, that shiny object syndrome, man, that's hard for an artist, right? And a creative.
It's like a daily struggle.
It totally is.
I have to remind myself, what am I doing today? And don't do that other thing as much as you would enjoy doing it. Mm-hmm. Is it going to get you to your goal? And that's, I'm doing coaching too. And so I sometimes, coach the coach yourself, but it's such much more effective, I think. And you'd agree, I think too, is like to have someone else that's keeping you accountable, because it's when we're left to our own devices, what happens?
Yeah. And I think that's true for anybody, right? So right, even though I coach people, I also have my own coaches, right?
Exactly.
Because you always need somebody that's ahead of you to help kind of pull you forward and keep you from that shiny object syndrome, mm-hmm. or at least give you permission every now and then on which shiny object you should follow. But I also don't want to never follow any shiny objects. That would be really boring as a creator.
Right. I mean, we got to take risks. We want to challenge ourselves, and we need to know when it is the right path to follow, just not every single day a different one.
Totally. Yep, exactly.
I never would do that. So, like, what would you say was your biggest shiny object, and what brought you back to where you are now?
Oh my gosh, my biggest shiny object. I worked in international travel for a couple decades, specifically in France, thus my branding. But when I first kind of started in the, I don't know, you could call it maybe an early midlife crisis, but I started painting more, but I also went down the kind of the path of some well-being. So I got certified in trauma-informed yoga, certified in Reiki, certified in Ayurvedic massage and flower essences. And then I turned everything back towards art and coaching and business, because business is my background. So that was a natural fit, and teaching. So I would say that definitely the shiny object was the different certifications I followed in more the world of yoga and well-being, because I'm not a healer anymore. I don't really teach yoga anymore. I don't really teach Reiki anymore, but I think in the end, it was beneficial because it made me who I am, right? And gave me the knowledge that it gave me.
Yeah, I know you well enough to know that you value education and knowledge. Mm-hmm. So there's never a loss when it comes to learning skills, certifications. So you answered the question I was going to ask you is, but yet, even though you do have that little window of time where you were doing Reiki and the flower essence things, you like to make perfume. And how does that fit into your big plan, what you're doing now?
Well, so, I mean, my big goal, do I dare say it? My huge goal.
Let's do it. Let's put it out there. Let's put it out there. That's why we're here. Make dreams come true. Let's do it. Manifest.
My huge goal is to move to France and renovate a chateau and turn it into an artisan school.
Oh, wow. That'd be fabulous.
I know.
It will be fabulous.
It will be fabulous.
Yes.
For me, I just love, there's so many old world crafts and so many amazing artisans and craftspeople in France. It's just a whole different level. And my goal is to be there and, collaborate more with the people in the country and the artisans, and learning new skills and continually teaching business, obviously. Which is partially, so my own business, we can talk about this maybe later, but my give back is that I donate a percentage every year and invest in castle or chateau restoration projects in France and art restoration projects in France. Because when you're renovating a chateau, more often than not, you have to stay within certain skill sets, I guess. So you have to hire really skilled tradespeople and artisans to do the work. So I like to think that the money that I'm investing in the restoration is also going back to the community and the skilled artisans, putting money back in their pockets and giving them work. So gilding was inspired by France, also happens to be, it's becoming more of a lost art, although it's kind of making a comeback. So it was something that I really wanted to learn and be able to carry on into the future and continue teaching and make it something that still exists and people are still learning.
So let's just put a pin there for a second and address gilding is something I know you're passionate about doing yourself. And so for those of people out there that don't know what it is, why don't you just briefly, tell the audience, what is gilding?
Gilding is otherwise known as gold leafing. So when you go into castles in France or you go to a museum with fine art, the gold frames are gilded. So they use a gold or a gold leaf or a gold metal to make the frames gold. And then in the castles, often you'll see it like in the ceilings and in the doorways. There's different ornamentation all over castles that are these shiny gold, and that's gilding. Yeah.
There we go.
Which I love. There you go.
Beautiful.
So it's playing with gold. I mean,
who wouldn't love that?
Right? Yeah.
You have some yummy passions, perfume and friends.
Yeah.
Gold.
The perfume was started because I'm a synesthete. So situations have colors. I can see music, and paintings smell like something to me. So I have been trying to capture what my paintings smell like in perfumes. And it's taking time because it's never quite right.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So that's
someone that can actually do that. So say that again. So the term is what?
A synesthete.
Synesthete.
Mm-hmm.
And so things smell like colors.
It's different for all different kinds of synesthetes.
Okay.
Some people can smell numbers that have certain aromas, or numbers have colors. I met another one who has days of the weeks are colors. So for me, it's situations have colors. It's super hard to explain.
We have to talk about this more.
Yeah. But my paintings to me smell like perfumes, of different kinds of perfumes.
So let's just, we talked about not getting too diverted, but here we go.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the painting behind you with the teal roses and the gold leaf. Mm-hmm. You have a smell associated with that one?
I do.
And can you tell us about that? Can you explain it?
I think that's why I'm taking the perfumery course, because I have such a hard time trying to figure it out. So this particular one smells very musky and almost vanilla-ish to me. So
interesting. So do you have a plan to, as you get this more refined and understand and be able to label it, will you make some perfumes to sell with your paintings?
Yeah, that's my thought, is I'll release a collection that'll have a particular perfume or two to correlate with it.
How cool will that be?
So yeah, but that's definitely at least a couple of years down the path.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know how I love colors and my whole life path color thing. I definitely want to revisit this smelling related to color thing.
Yeah.
So let's just say that we'll come back and do another podcast on smelling colors.
Yeah.
That should get some attention. But I do want to know. I want to know, what does red smell like? Does it, like the color itself? I'm getting totally distracted. So it's not the color.
The color itself doesn't. No.
Okay.
No, but I will be somewhere and I'll like a situation will feel red. It's super hard to explain, but to me it makes perfect sense.
We definitely need to discuss this.
Yeah.
I want to do, so this is totally distracting. So my deck I just came out with, I Am Colorfully Made, is based on the 9 life path colors. So let's just do a plug for that right now and say, I want to come back and talk to you about the 9 life path colors and situations and what they smell like.
Okay.
It doesn't get more unique than that. Okay, back to regular programming. What advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career similar to yours? What advice would you give to someone that wants to do what you're doing?
Well, my particular career, I would say it's twofold, at least as far as my accounting and my attention. Full-time artist is definitely one of them. The other is definitely a business consultant or a brand strategist and coach. And that's very broad because there's so many other things that go into all of those things. But, no matter what career you're going into, I would say I would circle back to what we talked about to before, that it's so important to have a mentor and a coach in whatever field that is. When I was working in the travel industry, we would get people that would contact us from the universities or somebody who's just like getting out into that field in particular, that would do what were they called? Discovery interviews, right? Where they came in and would interview me, so to say, just about learning more about the industry. And at the time, and even now, I'm like, that's genius, to get to know an insider perspective, right? To get to know more. And in some cases, they would come in several times and we became kind of mentors in the industry for them, to help them kind of navigate them and give them suggestions. We weren't coaching by any means, because we weren't teaching her how to write a resume or them how to best interview. It was really more just learning about the industry, which would be a mentor. But I think it's so important to know more about the industry, and then to have somebody, again, a couple steps ahead of you that can help you pull you forward. And I don't think that ever ends. Like I said, I have my own coaches and mentors still. And I don't know that I will ever not, because you're always trying to move forward, right? So you always want somebody a few steps ahead of you to help you.
That's so important. And really, as you're talking, I'm thinking that's really what the Global Art Cafe is. This podcast is bringing women on here, sometimes men. We're inclusive, all kinds of people who can be that resource for you. Because maybe my special expertise and what I'm teaching and coaching isn't a fit for you, but maybe Lara is, or someone else that I'm interviewing. And I want to be that resource for entrepreneurs, especially women. I'm very passionate about helping women, lift them up, and, come and ask me for an informational or discovery interview call. And let's talk about what your needs are. I want to be here for you and provide not only my services, but those Lara has to offer, because we each have very unique things, as we're learning here. So learn from that, find the mentor, find the coach, because lifelong learning is where it's at.
And that, and two, I think, especially people that are trying to follow the artist path, is that we get fed so many lies, I'm going to say, about how you can't make money doing art. And I just want to say that I really do think that anything is possible. There's nothing that's off the table. It's just a matter of figuring out how to get there and how to do it. So
Agreed.
No closed-mindedness allowed. All things are possible. You just got to figure out how to make it work.
You are the mission of my podcast. That's exactly it. I want people to hear anything is possible. Working with clients as a designer, the whole goal of my life goal is helping others see beyond that box, and that doing certain things can help you get there, strategizing, So tell us, what is your ideal client right now that you like to help, or you most can help?
My ideal clients are artisans, so handcrafters. So that goes anywhere from sculptors to textile designers to woodworkers, metalsmiths. I have a client that's a composer, anything that's handcrafted and is looking to try to figure out, more than likely they've been in business for a little while and they are doing what I was doing, which is all of the things, pleasing all of the people and realizing that it's really affecting their bottom line and trying to figure out a better way to build their business. So my expertise comes in the strategy. So marketing, branding strategy, but also around sustainable and impact driven businesses. So also people that want to make some kind of difference in their business, but aren't sure how to do it without just giving everything away.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's challenging because you say that, but it's much harder to actually do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you may want to do it, you may be there, but then it's the how. And that's the importance of hiring that coach, because the investment, while it may be more than you anticipated spending, what's the difference between, are you going to continue? How long are you going to continue down that road? Would it have been more advantageous to just pay someone and get there faster and be successful and spend your time doing the creative that you do, is your specialty? It's a hard question. I've been there myself. So what are the best resources that have helped you along the way that you incorporated into your practice?
Well, I mean, as you hinted at, I'm a person that continually invests in studying and researching and learning, sometimes to the detriment of my sleep. But
yes, didn't you let me encourage you to share, what did you just graduated from a program before you went on your trip. And what was that?
So I took a program with the Sotheby's Institute of Art, called Artisan Business. And I finished top 1%, which, yay, super excited. But it was helping me because I'm always finding there's always gaps in the knowledge, right? Plus there's always new things happening. And as a business coach and an artist, both, I try to stay on top of what's new, not necessarily so I can be trendy, but just so I can know what's happening in the world, right? So this course was talking about all the different career paths in the fine art world. But what I really enjoyed about it is it talked about all of those career paths post-pandemic, or I guess you could say, I don't know if you could argue that we're not necessarily post-pandemic yet, but regardless, in the past couple of years,
right.
There's been a lot of innovation out of necessity. So leaning into really what that is and looking at from a bigger scale, from bigger arts organizations and museums and galleries and things like that, as to how that's looking different these days. So that was super interesting.
Give us a little insight into that. Like what should we be doing right now, according to Sotheby's Institute?
Well, I mean, Sotheby's talked a lot about, well, as we all know, a lot of in-person things were not happening. So what happened is a lot of galleries and museums got super, and even art shows got super innovative. So they would do more augmented reality type things. They would do virtual visits of museums. They would have galleries would have artist talks that would talk about the art that was for sale in the gallery. So a lot of it was brought more virtual. So the question now is, what does that mean for now that things are going back a little bit more to in person? But I think what museums and galleries discovered, and even art shows, is that when the virtual is done right, because there were lots of iterations of it over the last 2 years, but they were able to reach a broader audience, which is always a good thing for artists. And be able to get artists' message out further into the world, which I think is a really good thing. So I don't know that a lot of it is going to change again. I think it's just going to keep building off of it.
Right. So it just, in a sense, it has expanded the industry.
Yeah. And then there's also, discussion around NFTs, which is also another discussion that they're not sustainable and they shouldn't exist. So there's lots of controversy on that, but that's a whole different.
You want to give your opinion on that? Because I know a lot of people are really, it's an intriguing thing that's happening right now.
So my personal opinion is that I'm going to research it more. So I have also been taking classes from MCAD, so Minneapolis College of Art and Design, on sustainability in the arts. So I have information, we can all get access to information, but it's from both sides.
Yes.
So I think it just needs to be explored more before we really make any kind of decisions on it. But I like to err on the side of what's good for the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe NFTs aren't that, but there'll be a new iteration of something.
Oh, always.
So always, right?
Always.
We're always going to be innovating.
One of my questions was, who are the 3 people you would say that are most influential, or just one is fine?
Well, I can do 3. I can do 3 quick. So
right.
For sure, one of my old high school friends, her name is Johanna. She was around when I just kind of really started dipping my toe back into art. Mm-hmm. And she helped me set up my first gallery exhibit, my first show. I did Art World, was my very first showing of my art ever, which is madness. But she was so kind, and she rented the booth next to me so she could be there to help me and support me, and, was my first studio mate. So she for sure was hugely influential, helped me hang my other gallery shows. So my current coach for sure has a change maker. I've been with her now for almost a year and a half. And with her company, I also wrote my first book and did my podcast and all kinds of things. She's been completely amazing. And my husband, because I have lots of ideas and I have done a lot of stuff, because I also had my social impact venue in between, right?
Right.
Which involved loans and all of those kinds of things. So, I mean, I have to say that
we have to give our amazing husbands the credit they deserve.
Well, yeah. And just having somebody who doesn't step all over your dreams. Because
exactly.
I have a lot of them. And some of them, like my chateau in France, may seem a little far-fetched. But he's never saying no. He's always like, well, if that's what you want to do, then you got to go get it. So
mm-hmm. I'm very lucky to have the same here. So that's wonderful to hear. There are men out there supporting us in our dreams in a way that doesn't hinder us at all.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so good to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Those would be my 3.
Awesome. Well, next question. What is the one common myth about your profession or field that you want to debunk? And I think we touched on it earlier, but maybe it's something else.
Yeah, the biggest thing I speak on is disrupting the starving artist mindset, yes. Starving artist myth. I mean, it's a mindset, so you can believe it's true, you can not believe it's true. But people are making money doing art all over the world all of the time. So it is not a myth. It does actually happen. So the first step is getting over our own blocks, especially since we've all heard since we were younger that artists don't make money, right? So it's been decades for some of us that we've been holding that in. But being able to step over that. And then the second step is actually moving forward and not letting the fear stop you. The fear of what may be or what may fail or what might not work.
And that's such a huge thing. And I experience it with myself, with my coaching clients and people. And it's one of my main messages for the podcast too, is how do you overcome that mindset that it means, a life of less abundance because you're choosing to be an artist. And I don't think it doesn't have to be that way. And it does take, but I would say it does take courage to step into it and own it and do it. But I want to be an encourager and a resource, like I said before, like Lara is, to live your dream. If you want to be an artisan or an artist, whatever your passion is, and maybe it's something completely different than art, I want you to succeed. And that can mean a really huge mindset shift. So what is the biggest roadblock you can help people overcome to really step into living that artisan or artist life that you choose? What would you say is the biggest thing you've helped people overcome?
So I would say there's a lot that goes into this, but I think the most common things I see are the burnout, the indecision of whether they can do it or not do it, right? So it's a lot of confidence. It is lack of direction, because there isn't a lot of, which is why I wrote the book on it. There's not a lot of resources out there for artists to make money,
Right.
even though an art business technically is not super different than any other business. It just is a different, it involves more creativity. But for me, my specialty, or what I always tell people, is that it's important that your business is bigger than you. It's important that your business has some kind of impact, because we all are going to have hard days or weeks or months where we're thinking about throwing in a towel. And we all have those thoughts of, well, if I just got a part-time job, or maybe if I just went back to work, this isn't worth it. It's so hard. It's so much easier just to have a full-time job. But if you are the only one invested in your business, it's easier to just throw in the towel. But if your business is out for a bigger purpose, a bigger impact, and there's more people kind of not just watching you, but reliant on you to step up and do something, it's a lot harder to throw in the towel, and you fight a lot harder for your business.
That's true. I think it ties in also to part of what I think you teach about is legacy. And that's what you're talking about. Is when you have a vision for what you want, like the chateau you want to build, right? You have a vision, a legacy you want to build. And I've got one like that. We won't share that today, but it's almost to that point where, can I say it out loud? When it's that big, people want to be part of those things. And hopefully you stay in the fight to make it happen, because it's so fabulous. But it is hard. I've been an entrepreneur for years. It's not easy. And I think we started out talking about all the distractions, and it isn't easy, but is it worth it? Is it?
Totally.
Exactly. It's totally worth it. Because because it's always about sacrifice and choices. And what are we giving up to lead the lives you and I are leading, moving towards our dreams? What's the trade-off? Well, I know what my trade-off was. Where would we be if we weren't doing what we're doing today? I'll let you answer that. Where would you be if you chose to not pursue building this artisan business strategy and doing your artwork now? What would you be doing?
Oh my gosh. Well, considering all I've already done in 10 years, who knows where I could be. What
the question is, what was the turning point? Not where you are, for sure. And what was that turning point? What is the path you left? I think you said the traveling, right?
Yeah, I worked in travel for a couple decades as management and helping people travel abroad. But I think what I wanted was to pursue my own dreams, right? When I was working in my travel industry, I was pursuing my owner's dreams of having this company that made a difference by connecting, France and America, which is awesome. And I also believe in a similar mission, but I needed it to be my mission, my vision, my impact, and how I wanted it to be. So I guess the answer is I wouldn't be pursuing my own passions. I would still be pursuing somebody else's.
Yeah. And I think that's key and you hear it a lot too, the whole, you can work for somebody else's dream, or you can work for your own.
Yeah.
And you know what? Some people don't have that dream, and that's fine. But we're here to talk to entrepreneurs and people that do have that bigger dream and want to make it happen. And I think you too want to be that encourager and support to make it happen. Mm-hmm. That's why we're here, because we believe in it. We believe in everybody out there that has that dream. There's nothing stopping you except yourself.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's so powerful. It really is. So one of the last questions I have is, what are you most passionate about leaving as your legacy?
Everything. No. So for my legacy, first and foremost is my art. It's been super important to me, especially over the past couple of years, with re-evaluating what kind of art, not even just botanicals versus abstract, but what products am I using? What materials am I using? And is it something that can be passed down from generation to generation? Am I making products that are more heirloom and less mass consumerism? That's been super important to me and has been a huge factor in what kind of products as an artist I put out into the world. The other I mentioned a little bit is my part in preserving the earth is super important to me, and how to make a more eco-friendly sustainable studio business. So right now it starts with, we give back to 1% to the planet. We use carbon neutral shipping for all of our products. I am like, where do I even finish? So many more things. And it's continually ongoing, right? So how do I find gesso that's more eco-friendly instead of what I'm using now? How do I find organic canvases, so on and so forth? Because like I said earlier, like if the earth isn't here much longer, then what's the point of all of it, right? Like that's kind of the main hinge in the whole thing.
So is it in your book or on your website where if people are looking, like they're just starting on this journey right now to be more sustainable and responsible with our resources?
Yeah.
Do you have a list or a place they can go and find?
I will have a place next week, actually. I'm soft launching the Sustainable Artisan Guild, which is a community for to have these discussions, because nobody's perfect. Nobody has all the answers. And products are continually coming out that are new, that are more eco-friendly.
And it'll change over time as this video becomes older. You'll be updating the list, things will change, but it's a place to start, right?
Yep. It's a place to have the discussions and share ideas, because my clients are all different kinds of artisans, so I have clients that are looking for less toxic materials in metalsmithing. I have clients that are looking like me for things in painting that they can use that are less toxic. So it's a place for people to kind of share those discussions and share ideas. So, yeah.
Which brings me to the next question. Where can people find you online? How can they connect with you best?
So they can reach me at laracornell.com on my website, or the artisanandcompany.com website. And then Instagram and Facebook, I'm Lara Cornell Art.
Well, that's fabulous. This has been so fun. And we didn't get on too many crazy tangents, but we definitely have more to talk about. No surprise there. This has been so fun. Is there any last nugget you would like to share before we close out our conversation?
Well, I'd actually love to share my book. So my first book was an international best-selling seller, The Maker's Mark, Make a Living and Impact with Your Artisan Business. And you can absolutely go buy it on Amazon. But if anybody would like to save trees and is listening to this podcast, I would love to give them my editor's version of the book, which is a digital copy, so they can pull it up on their own computers.
And how do they get that?
So all they have to do is just email me and tell me that they heard us speaking on this podcast.
And I'll put a link here when I do the video down here.
The email is lara@laracornell.com.
Super easy.
Yeah.
And what is the biggest thing they're going to get as a takeaway from that book? Why do they want to download that?
So the book itself, what I use with my clients is what's called the legacy blueprint, is what we build. That is their branding and marketing strategy, and also their impact-based business. With my clients, I build a certification program into it, but the book is also like a more digestible, I guess, version of the legacy blueprint, so they can build it themselves.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I hope you enjoyed your time here today. I certainly enjoyed talking with you and learning a little bit more about the Maker's Mark. Download your book online at laracornell.com and check out what she's up to and see the beautiful pictures of France on her website. Listen in, like, and subscribe to the Global Art Cafe podcast on anchor.com and all your favorite podcasting apps, or visit me on my YouTube channel, Lisa Kindle Artist. And it's free to subscribe, and leave us a like and let us know what you think. Love to hear some comments.